Well, my Astro Thor air hammer came in. It's a 498K. I ordered it July 5th, 22. And today's date is July 9th. This thing's brand new, right? Open it up, put the fitting on there, put 10 drops of oil, and went to use it. And the first time I pulled the trigger, worked perfect. For about 5 seconds, just hit hard. I let off the trigger, went to go pull the trigger again, and it was nothing but air hissing, just hissing, not doing anything. So then I took it over to a block of wood and just hit it on a block of wood, and now it barely does anything. I've tried several different times. I ended up putting like another 15 drops of oil in it. That's nothing. This is an aluminum bench. We're running 150 pounds of static line pressure. So obviously I must have just got a dud. I do have the other one, the non-Thor edition. It's just got a shorter stroke, and this one's worked perfect. It's never misfired on me at all. So hopefully I can get this warranted, because I'm really excited to see how much power it puts out. Went ahead and pulled the air fitting out, and as you can see, there's nothing blocking the screen at all. So I found out these air hammers were part of a limited production run. I'm not sure if they're going to make any more. I was going to ship it back to Summit to get it warranted, but I was afraid if I shipped it back, I may never see one of these air hammers again. So I took it upon myself to try to figure out what was going on, and I'm glad I did, because I think I have it figured out. They do give you nice parts diagram here, so that helps. It's pretty simple. So you have the snap ring on the front. The snap ring comes off. Then this exhaust housing, the O-ring's on top, but the exhaust housing simply slides off. There's nothing sealing it to the actual piece here. Because I saw like there was air leaking out a little bit when it wasn't working between the exhaust housing and the aluminum housing, but that's that's totally fine. There's no seal there, so that's normal. Once I got that off, there's a small pin, and it was knocked into the cylinder here, because the cylinder, it's tightened down into that aluminum housing, just like all the other air hammers out there. But this one has a very nice design in that it has a locking pin that locks it to keep it from loosening up. So you pull that locking pin out, and that locking pin goes into any one of these holes. So no matter how tight you get it, there's always going to be one of these holes that's going to line up. So that's really nice. There was no Loctite on here, so no heat required, but it was extremely tight. Even though they used a locking pin, they still tightened the shit out of it. So I had to clamp it in the vise here with some plastic jaws so I didn't mess it up, and had to hit this very hard with a very large, I think 3-pound rubber mallet. And finally, after several whacks, it did come loose. I took it off and have disassembled it, and I was trying to figure out what had gone wrong. There's no seals in this air hammer except for this one O-ring here, which even if that fails, like, that's no big deal. That's just on the exhaust part, so it does not matter. So I'm actually happy that there's no seals in this air hammer to wear out. Like, it's all metal to metal, very precision machined, so it should last a very long time as long as you use enough air tool oil. I knew that there was nothing wrong with the actual housing. There's like no parts that are going to fail on you. The valve could leak, but that's it. And of course, I blow on it when I'm with my mouth. I got plenty of airflow coming through here, so I knew there had to be something going on here. The piston slid very easily in the bore. If you just took the air hammer and tilted it, you could hear the piston slide down and slide back. So the piston was not froze up. And I'm pulling apart and I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, what's going on? We don't have many pieces here. So, this goes down into the housing first, and then this piece has a little pin, a solid pin that indexes it to here. I'm sorry. It indexes this piece into the cylinder. So the cylinder, you see, has all these holes. Well, one of those pins, or that pin, and the only pin, this one only has one indexing pin. It goes in this hole right here on the outside edge and lines up with one of these holes. So that drops down in like that, and then this would go on here, and then housing, you know, the whole thing would then go into the housing. But I found my problem, I'm pretty sure. So this piece is gonna be number 8 on the diagram, right? Nothing wrong there, everything looks good, nothing to wear, like a solid block of steel. But number 6 is apparently stuck in number 5. You know, it's a separate part here. So we're looking at number 5 on the diagram, this bigger block with all the holes in it. Number 6 is going to be this piece. As you can see, it's all one as of right now. See how those holes on the inside of the bore are covered up halfway? That's covered up halfway by this number 6, and number 6 is labeled the valve. So that valve most likely should be sliding in there. So apparently there's probably just a very small piece of debris from machining that was left in this thing, and that's all that it took to stick it. So I'm going to try to free this up and maybe you know, polish it up a little bit and use a bunch of oil and see if this thing works. So this thing was stuck in there pretty good. Use my little bushing driver here, small hammer, and it, man, I had to tap that thing for quite a few times, probably like 50 times, lightly tapping that thing before I could get that valve out of that bore. I don't know if the camera will focus. It just, you can tell it's it was a tight fit, and it's got some scoring going on. So I'm definitely gonna be polishing this up, and that thing should slide in there no problem. Very nice and smooth. Okay, so there may be why it was stuck. Look at that hole right in the center of the screen. It's got that little flake of trash. That little flake is all it's going to take to lock that up. Look at that. That's at least a 1 to 2 thou thick. That's probably the whole problem. That one piece of trash was left in there during manufacturing. So I got it removed, and this is a metallic, like this is, it feels metallic like steel. Well, you can see it, it's shiny. So some type of steel, I'm not sure where it came from, but that's what it was. So I'm not even worried about polishing this thing up. I put a little air tool oil on it, and it slides real nice and free. That's how it should be. Got everything blown out, cleaned off. Now I'm ready to reassemble. I don't know where oil should go, so I'm just going to cover everything in air tool oil. Now the pin here, see how there's 4 bigger holes towards the center? It's going to go on the outer bigger hole, like that. Which lines up with that outside hole here. Indexes it there. And it also sticks out a little bit here, and it's going to index into this housing. So this housing, trying to see here. Well, I'd show you, but well, you can see the hole right there at the top, maybe. Oh, sorry. So there's our 4 inside big holes, and then there's the one up in the center top. You just have to look at it. It's not too hard. Oh, you know what? Sorry, I need to put some more oil inside here. And I'm about to forget the piston. Pull that up too. And the piston's going to go with the smaller end towards the end of the barrel. Drop that in. There we go. So as you can see, when it's correctly lined up, we won't be able to rotate it. It's going to be nice and flush on the ends. And now we just have to go ahead and thread it into the housing here. We're going to tighten this down in the vise very tight. All the other air hammers I've had, they loosen up over time from the vibrations, and new Astro had this thing very tight, so we're going to tighten it very tight, and then we'll be damn Amber Alert, cut the video off, but we're going to be reinserting the locking pin that I showed you earlier. That's a very nice design. That way this thing's never going to loosen up again. That's probably pretty good. Okay, so it doesn't quite line up. It's close. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go a decent amount tighter to get it to line up. I might just back it off just a hair. I don't want to crack that aluminum housing. There we go. Now I just got to put the exhaust housing on, which doesn't look like... Okay, so it's got one notch here that indexes it to the... Well, I guess it'll line up with any one of these notches. So you can clock this exhaust wherever you want. I'm going to leave it how the factory had it, which was on the right hand side here. Then the O-ring goes on. And then the snap ring. Now I just got to put my chuck on there and see if it works. Oh no, the exhaust covered the camera in oil. I'd say works pretty good. Punched a clean hole in that control arm.